On the other hand, if you look at Nepali leaders, they don't have this aura and awe of India that, oh, it's a big neighbor. They're very professional. They would want to deal with India professionally. These are the issues on which we want to tackle with, with India, or these are certain issues that we would want to, tackle with China or any other country. So they treat their country as, we are sovereign, independent countries. So what I'm trying to say is that as the time changed, people's educational level change. These Nepalese have gone abroad, they study, they get Western education. When they come, they're very confident lot. And they would want to deal with India at a different level. And from Indian side also, I see the same kind of thing. So the dynamics, then political dynamics between two countries then also changes. The cultural component in South Asia becomes very important then, which influences decision making. Cultural overlapping has often influenced the policy makers. For example, from Delhi, when we look at Sri Lanka, we may think it's differently. But for Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka, has that cultural component. And when I say Sri Lanka, I don't mean Sinhalese. Now, I mean, Tamil in Sri Lanka. So how it has an impact on your, either on your policy or political parties or people from Tamil Nadu would act as a pressure on central government in India to formulate their policy towards Sri Lanka. Now, if you look at the Tarai belt of Nepal, that is the plains of Nepal, they are racially, culturally very close to people of UP and Bihar. Now, as a result, they were treated like Indians in Nepal. Whereas for India, they are Nepalese who are culturally closer to them. So they had their own problems, and there was this issue of they were without citizenship in their own country. So it can, and there are various examples throughout South Asia you can take where cultural overlapping takes place. So it has an impact on your decision making if those groups act as a pressure group, either on their government or on the foreign government. Now, the traditional political elite in South Asia also has its own role to play. You have now India is democratic country, or Nepal also has democratic country, but you also have kings. You have so many kings in India who later on became, now they are part of democratic process. In Nepal also you have. However, I would say that when King of Nepal, this is prior to 2005, when he addressed India, he addressed government of India as a political head. Whereas when he was addressing people of India as a Hindu king. I do recall in 1989 when trade and transit, there was this impasse. I was in Tamil Nadu that time, and I saw the kind of reaction that was there towards Indian government by saying that is the only Hindu country. So, this is also an emotive issue. Then there are various Hindu organizations within India who look towards King of Nepal as the Hindu king. Till date it happens. So what kind of roles do they play? I am not, and these roles and these influences may not be strong and acting simultaneously. But at some point of time in history, they were important, and they can be important. They cannot be ignored. Now, countries, however, at the end, work on national interest. This we have been told, and this is the old, knowledge that we've got. But however, what is this national interest? Who defines this national interest? When I say government, I just told you, government is one political group with so many other actors having links with them. Okay? Now, if those influences are forming and determining your national interest, then it is determined by time, by circumstances, and by the actors who are defining it. Who is, if Congress is in power, then there are certain groups from corporate sector, from bureaucracy, of course, as I told you, gives continuity, but some people may be more closer to a particular ideology or a party. Then you have various functional groups within a country who would be giving support to that policy. It can, when it gets, dislodged by another group, another set of group comes. Now, this kind of thing happens in another country as well. Now, if one set of people are there in country A, they interact with similar kind of set of people in country B. If opposition takes place from Nepal, it is opposition to that group which is in power in India. So instead of, saying that it is anti this, anti that. It is anti their interest actually, and they're looking towards their interest. So it is interest which is actually bringing groups closer, government and various functional groups, which it brings them closer, and similar kind of groups operate in various other countries. So, this is how they operate with each other. Military is an important actor in South Asian politics. Of course, in India, military is subordinate to political power. But Pakistan and Bangladesh have experienced military which was active in politics, and it influenced and determined their foreign policy. Elsewhere in South Asia, militaries have been subordinate. However, even in India, for example, in 2005, King of Nepal had taken power in his hand. There was People's War going on. Now, issue was, and they needed weaponry to counter Maoist or People's War. Now, the dilemma from India was, should we send weapons to them? If we deliver weapons, to counter Maoists, are we in the process also strengthening hands of king who has actually taken power in his hand? So, equipments were not sent to Nepal. That was a decision taken by Government of India. But, military in India has very good linkage with Nepal army. And military in India was trying to influence Government of Nepal that do strengthen Nepal army, even though Nepal army was supposedly seen as closer to palace. So, as I said, in India, it is the political class which is a determining class, and in a democracy that is how it should be. But in certain points of time, armies do have a say in decision making, and their voice is often heard. It is not ignored. Corporate sector is a strong influencing factor in, again, influencing the policies between countries. If I look today when India's economy is growing, I see that politics is taking a back seat in the neighboring countries, and it is either the trading class or the industrialist class which is forcing their government to say that even if we get 1% of the profits that India is making or India's growing economy, we would also flourish. In Nepal, I've spoken again to a lot of people from the industry and business class. They would say that, do your politics, but allow us to do our business with India. So this group also acts as a strong influence. From the Indian side also, there are certain groups when goods flow from Nepal to India, at times you have third country goods which come to Nepal, and from Nepal they come to India. It does affect your local industry. And Government of India cannot ignore industry in West Bengal or in Bihar and UP. So these groups from India then tell Delhi to take certain policies which are going to safeguard their interests. So I'm saying that this business class or the corporate sector has its own say in informing foreign policy. Now now the political elite makes public opinion and in turn gets influenced by the public opinion. Civil society plays a decisive role in exerting pressure on issues important to them. For example, social movements within a country act as a pressure group on issues of social justice. Certain movements like environmental groups are transnational and exert pressure on their country to be considerate towards sustainable development. When I say civil society, I am bringing media also in it, apart from academicians and NGOs and international NGOs. Now, media again becomes important here. Media has the power over the decision makers to exert pressure and make or change public opinion. We've seen what WikiLeaks did. We also are seeing how governments reacted to WikiLeaks, that was the internet. Now, what happened in Arab Spring? The power of internet, power of media is so strong that I don't have to look, for a spokesperson from government to tell me something. I can now, sitting in my study room, can interact with someone sitting in other part of the world and know instantly what is happening. So these kind of influences are there, which acts as a strong pressure group on government while formulating a policy. So, much work has been done on the linkage between domestic influences and foreign policy, adding to various influences in foreign policy making decision. A policy reflects interests of the domestic constituents in power and their interaction at the international level. At the bilateral level, negotiations, the political group, interest groups in country A has to have understanding with similar groups in country B for negotiations to have a smooth relations and workable foreign policy. It is the interests of elite or that group which is making decision and its followers that represent the national view. Of course, this view should have the sanction of people, otherwise it could lead to agitated views. So there is a symbiotic relationship between the political elite and the public opinion. The elite makes public opinion through his control over means of propaganda, education, public discourse, etc. And in turn, the public opinion acts as a check on elite's actions. To sum up, I would take help of old Indian understanding of things, that it is samay, sthan and paristhiti, that is time, place and circumstances that determines the foreign policy formulation. Thank you.
We are fortunate to have Professor Kamath with us, so I just request you to 5 minutes. Exactly.
Friends, the subject today is